Welcome back to the Uncut and Unfiltered Podcast. Today we are doing a wee episode on Bowmore. Bowmore Distillery. It's one of my favourite distilleries. If you are from the UK, or England, I should say, it's Bowmore. If you've ever been to Islay, it's Bowmore. And it's just so much softer and so much nicer, and I love it. It's Bowmore. So that's what we're going to be calling it today. But if you're from England, it's Bowmore. That's what we're looking at.
Not Bowmore.
Could be, no, it's
No,
not.
I
But
know.
you can say it however you want. We'll know what you're talking about. But no,
I say Bowmore.
Bowmore.
Devil's
I know.
advocate.
It's because you've met too many people from Islay, mate. That's it, you know. It rubs off on you, right? Oldest distillery on Islay, right? Second oldest distillery in Scotland, or certainly from a legal standpoint anyway. Pretty fucking cool. I'm very excited for today. I love the distillery, but I think we all have a few controversial thoughts on maybe the core range.
Yep. Let's start.
Let's not keep Beam on their toes. Yeah, let's get going.
Islay's most inconsistent distillery. Let us start with some of what I'm imagining, and I'm not going to hold back, is their biggest shite going.
Probably.
Wow.
And somebody very kindly peeled off the price tag from the front of that bottle.
Wow.
Stevie, you bought this earlier?
Unfortunately.
From an off license.
Yeah,
So it was
unfortunately.
probably a little bit more expensive than usual.
$37.99.
I saw that. As
I actually didn't pay by handing over cash. I actually pulled my trousers down.
Did you?
Yeah.
Bent over, and the rest was history.
Right, and
okay.
I think this has been
You
made.
did come away with the bottle though, so not all is lost.
Yeah.
I think once you try it, you
Yeah.
will regret that move.
I'm a bit sore, but
made with the tears
This
of the
isn't going to
children.
help. This is not going to help.
yeah. So I haven't had this, but
So Bowmore number
Kinda got an
one
idea.
is named after their warehouses.
mate.
And again, what's really interesting about Bowmore, you say there, Ian, and I think it's a great descriptive it is the most inconsistent whiskey off of Islay. Potentially out of Scotland, I would even say.
Yeah.
It's really, really up there. Now, Bowmore's warehouses are a thing of beauty.
Incredible. We've all been, right?
Sensational, yes. Stopped him very, very briefly. A thing of beauty, arguably some of the best warehouses in Scotland. Really, really old school. And I don't want to ruin the surprise, but yeah, I'm offended that they've put Bowmore number one and named this after their amazing warehouses
This smells better than I thought it was going to be.
when this is the liquid in the glass. Oh, okay, see, have you had this recently?
No, I've never had it.
This is
before.
non-age statement.
Yeah, it is. I've had a number of young Bowmores
Right.
over the years. I've been to distillery. I was there for Fashion 2019. Yeah, there's loads of stuff. You get dram tokens. There's free. I think during the day there's like the 9, 10, and 12 are basically on tap.
Right. For
And
good reason. You just said this smells really nice.
As I said, nicer than I expected.
Okay, so this is the thing. For me, the nose of Bowmore, the core range I'm discussing here, number 1, 12, the nose always actually is reasonable.
Yeah.
It never
I
offends
agree.
me.
I agree on that.
The nose holds true as Bowmore. The palate is what always, and take us up, tell me I'm wrong,
I will.
always lets me down.
in their core
And
range.
also the core.
In the core range.
The core range as well. Like, fucking enormous. Right.
So what are we looking at? 12, 15, 18?
Well, so number one, there's a 9 that comes around. There isn't
The 9 isn't
constantly
part of the
available.
core range,
Is
though.
it not? Right.
I'm pretty sure it's actually 12, 15, 18. Their number 1 is their
There's
kind
a
of
10
non-age
as
statement.
well. Then you got 10, 15, and 18 travel retail.
Right, yeah, but that's not their core range.
Oh,
It's
right,
travel
okay,
retail.
fine.
But they've got, again, look, I would compare them to Glenfiddich in as much as they've got seemingly lots of different core ranges. The travel retail, they're always available, right? It's not stuff that is hard to find. And so I appreciate why you would sort of include it within the core range. Yeah, I just... It's big, it's ballsy, it's Bowmore on the nose. And then you sup on it, and it's just like this thin, watery fucking nonsense.
Oh, that is insipid.
Right?
It tastes like the 12 does, and in the sense that I messaged you guys. My tasting note is apple bobbing water.
Right.
It's truly watered down.
nothing.
Shit.
Yeah. And so this I think is my like observation on Bowmore. Like, for whatever reason, below certainly 43 is the bare minimum it should ever be bottled at, and really,
Bring it up.
you know, it needs to be 46 and 48 to get anything out for it. For whatever reason, when you add water, it just
Dies.
dies on its feet. It
Dies
tastes
completely.
like diluted tea.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there's
And then
absolutely
when you just put
nothing.
way too much, not even milk, just too much water in your tea, in your mug, and you've left it a long time.
It's
It's
just
horrible.
It's the thing that bothers me about them, the core range, is, and it's not all of the core range, sorry, but certainly on the young end of the core range, it sort of eases a little bit as you grow. Is the nose is really good. The nose is kind of what I want, and the palate just it doesn't. It's like two different whiskies. It doesn't join in any way. There is no similarities. There is no case to be made that the whiskey you're smelling and the whiskey you're drinking are even from the same fucking region, let alone from the same distillery. I just feel like you get this big, bolshy Isla.
So my second observation as well is Bowmore before 15 years of age is also generally worthless shite.
Correct. Yeah.
We are
But that's
not
what... No, but
going
this...
to the distillery anytime soon.
No, we will.
Look,
We will.
seriously, I went
We're
there.
coming.
I had an amazing
We
time.
may not be
there.
invited, but we're
Yeah.
coming.
We are coming.
The staff were wonderful, and like, you know, again, like in our offering our advice, there's just things that they need to do better, because you look at some of the older stuff, you look at the limited stuff, like their face releases, like, and it doesn't, or Bowmore doesn't even have to be in sherry to be good. Like, it works in a variety of
It
casks.
works so well in different casks. This is the thing. And what I love about Bowmore in different casks is you really get different... Like we talked a little while ago, a few episodes ago, about Glentockers and it being really good in different wood, but it being quite similar. What I love about Bowmore in different wood is, yes, you can still pick its Bowmore, but actually it grows into these really different beasts, particularly in sherry. It has this whole different thing. And it's kind of like... Once you think about it, it's still Bowmore, but it's almost a thing of its own, which I really like personally.
Yeah. So, you know, I know I've been rude, Stevie, and I've been calling them names and whatever. You know, they've done a couple of years ago. There was a 21-year-old Bowmore in Chateau Lagrange casks, and it was a full 21-year-old maturation in red wine casks,
Wow.
which sounds mental. And I bought a bottle, and I was like, "This, what have I done to myself?"
What percentage?
It was about, I think it was 48 point something.
Oh, I want it. Do you have any left?
No.
Fuck you.
I used it in a tasting
Yeah.
because I was so scared
Right.
about it.
Everyone loved it.
Everyone loved it. It was fantastic.
At that sort of strength, exclusive maturation of wine, that is what you need.
It wasn't too tannic. The Bowmore still came through. The wine casks were lovely. And it was very reasonably priced. It was about 150 quid, which for a 21-year-old limited edition Bowmore at a high enough strength, I think is absolutely spot on. And so it absolutely bamboozles me that they've got the talent to push out amazing official bottles. Their face releases are normally excellent as well. I seek them out if I can at auction.
But they fill the supermarkets with fucking...
I just don't
Garbage.
get it. I really don't get it. I love the brand. You know, they're such a prestigious, you know, elegant, you know, they're built on quality. And that is, you know, evident in the releases they do, you know, beyond, well, 15, 18 and so. What the fuck are they doing? Because if this, well, to be fair, I haven't actually tasted the top before, number one, apart from, you know, before today. If that's all I tasted, I wouldn't want to go any further. And I think that's the trick they're missing, you know? And it's a shame.
I agree. I think people who are in the industry who know Bowmore, have tried this sort of interesting releases, love it, right? Because it's cool. And if you've ever tried an indie Bowmore, there are a few indie Bowmores. Like, I'm struggling to think of a single indie Bowmore that I haven't liked. There have been a few that haven't quite hit the mark. That have been okay, but like you compare them to the core range, and it's like this is much more Bowmore than, you know, than the 12 to 15 sort of thing, you know.
By the time I went to Isla, even though I wasn't even super into peat then, I'd already kind of given up on Bowmore, and it was only because they had a bunch of tickets available.
Right.
I was like, well, I'm here to spend some cash and have some experiences.
Yeah.
That I was like,
Get involved.
oh, shit. Like, they've got some fucking incredible stuff.
This is it. What are they doing?
You know, I got absolutely treated out there for 60 quid back in 2019. Rocked up at the distillery. It was a small tour of about a dozen people, right? And they rock up, and there was I think a 25-year-old limited, like, sherried, like, you know, dram as a welcome addition, like manager's dram, 1997 manager's dram. Absolutely incredible. Goes for about 500 quid on auction now. Like,
Nice.
if I had the cash, I would pick one up because it was so damn good.
Fair play.
Out into the warehouse with the dipping dob, the Valanche, and you know, we had, I think, 6 samples straight from the cask.
Right.
And basically, it was a case of like, you're in the warehouses, and it was, you know, it wasn't quite pick a cask, any cask, but it was like,
Close enough.
Here's this parcel of like 30 casks, because we know what they all are. They're not private casks, for example. Like,
For sure.
you know, have a look at the cask ends, go pick one out. And they were not young casks. Like, I remember I picked a 21-year-old PX cask, PX butt.
Wow. Like, that is...
And that wasn't it then. And then it was into the number 1 vaults. And then there were 2 further casks for like a bottle your own. You got to sample both of them. So we're 9 whiskies in at this point, a sherry butt and a bourbon barrel. And it was, here's a nice little set with a pen, a notepad, like a glass, and 100ml cask sample to take away with you as well for £60. Like,
wow, they really look after you there.
you know, that is like gonna be one of the most memorable whiskey experiences I'll have.
They also have their own accommodation that you can stay at
They
the
do,
distillery, right?
Yeah.
And a whole
That
kind
sounds
of
like a really cool
experience.
experience. Did they by chance give you, you know, like plate smashing when you're at a fair? Did they give you a chance to do some Bowmore 12 smashing? Because I feel like just sipping on this now, that's kind of what I would use it for.
Well, what I will
just
say,
creating a bit of a mess, having a bit of fun, a bit of a fair game at the end. Here you go. Here's a cricket ball. See how many of our bottles of 12-year-old you could smash up because they're
And also,
shit.
were the casks made out of cardboard? Because this
It's just fun.
just
I
tastes like
actually
damp.
I'm not.
fucking-
I'm sorry. I'm not going to drink the rest of this. I would even say the number 1 is even like the fact that this is an age statement. Fuck off.
oh, I was going to say actually,
Just fuck off.
I prefer this to the number 1.
Just mate, genuinely, that's kind of where I'm at. It's
Go
like,
on, mate.
what-
Do it. There we go. You did it.
What's the point? It's just not good. I'm not going to waste my time with that. At least the number 1. He's sort of very politely supping away now.
I've been.
I just feel that the number 1 is non-age statement, and so I can forgive certain,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
irregularities.
12
certain-
years old. That's an
12
insult.
years in cask.
It's an
This
insult.
this is thin. This is boring. It's just like dry. I don't mean dry in like a tannic. I mean like dry as in like this is a dry shite sort of a dram. This is just boring. Do you know? You meet those people, you're just like, you're the fucking driest shite I've ever fucking...
You don't like it then, mate?
No. I don't think I like it that much. It's a don't buy from me.
The one thing I will say is, for me, it's better than the number 1. It is.
Look, marginally, but for a 12-year-old, for an age... I'm sorry, Ian. I don't mean to cut in, but at the same
42
time, I'll fucking cut in and say it's rubbish.
It's rubbish. It is rubbish.
It's shit.
£42 as well.
And that's too much. That's too much for that.
I mean, you'd pay it if it was good.
I mean, I bet I wouldn't pay 42p for that, mate.
Yeah, no, that's really piss poor, and so disappointing. So disappointing. Look, like I say, I can forgive with a non-age statement whiskeys, some roughness, some, you know, off notes.
and
Fine.
And going back to, again, like, you know, trying to flip the conversation a little bit. Like, again, on Isla, the bar at Faish, like, very well priced.
Yeah.
And I got to try a bunch of limited Bowmores. Like, a few years ago, they did, I think it was called the Vintners Trilogy. They had Manthania,
Yeah.
and like a wine one.
They had some fucking cool stuff. And this is the thing, they've always got cool stuff going on, Ian.
Amazing. So really fucking good.
So why are they filling the supermarkets up with nonsense?
Yeah.
Why are they giving the everyman absolute piss?
The everyman must enjoy this, though.
Do they?
Well, because they must.
Well, I guess enough people do. Otherwise, they
That's
wouldn't
what I
be
mean.
selling, right?
They obviously know what they're doing in terms of the everyman. You must enjoy this. You must buy into it. However, obviously, if you like your whiskey, you're not going to buy it. So
no,
I
would
say
say you should, instead of Bowmore, you should Belless. I'll give you that for free.
Very good. What I would say is, having tried some casks and some like cask samples or some indie releases of Bowmore that is younger than 12, I actually think Bowmore works at sort of 7, 8 years old really nicely. And so what I would say is, scrap the number 1, scrap the number 12. The 15 is kind of where it starts getting okay.
You're up to 43% as well there, right, with the 15?
You do. I don't know exactly, but yeah, I think you take a jump in the ABV a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I would do is scrap the 12, scrap the number 1, and replace it with an age statement, 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. Do some different finishes on them. Do an exclusive bourbon, some sherry finish. Do some cool renditions within it. Fine. But do it at just that slightly higher ABV. Do it at 50%, okay? And have that as your entry level. And I think that so many more people would start getting involved. And, we talked in our last episode about Glenmorangie. And, I think that actually a young Bowmore at 50% would not only be something that true whiskey geeks would freak out about.
Do a bit more cask strength in batches, right?
Right. But I think also that style of whiskey, that smokiness, that brininess, there's elements of citric fruit when Bowmore really shows up. All of those things work well for cocktails. And I feel that they are missing out on this whole element of the market. They're trying to play a whiskey game of a time gone by. Look, they're the second oldest whiskey distillery legally in Scotland. And they're still playing this game of, here's our 10-year-old, here's our 12-year-old, here's our 50. Fuck off. The 12-year-old is shit, lads. It's rubbish. Get rid of it. There's no point in having it there. Just get rid. Replace it with a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old that is designed to bring people in, like the Glenmorangie X. Put a cool fucking label on it. Make it a little bit different from your other stuff. Sell it to bars as something that is an amazing base for cocktails. But also let your whiskey community know, hey guys, don't worry. We've sorted out that piss water that we were selling before as a 12-year-old. It's only 7, but I tell you what, it tastes much better. Trust me, get in, and we're going to do it for you. What did you say the 12 was at?
Price point?
Yeah.
42 quid, mate.
Right. So I would spend £42 on a 50% 7-year-old from Bowmore.
Of course you would. Yeah.
Or a cask strength, like you said, I think a cask strength 6, 7, 8-year-old. That's cool. I'm excited. I'm in.
You guys are, but the everyman, right? You got to think supermarket
but this
whiskey.
is it. No, but you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're thinking about marketing it as a cask strength. That's not how you market it. You market it the same way that Glenmorangie has marketed the X. This is a cocktail whiskey. This is cool. This is new. This is interesting. And then to all of the people that are already signed up to Bowmore's messages, say, hey guys, we're selling this as a cocktail thing, but that's just for people who don't know. You get it. You're part of our community, so you know what Bowmore is all about. And actually what this is all about is upgrading. We recognise the 12 was just
what Jake
fucking
wants to do is roll out a
thin piss
marketing plan
water.
that deceives people.
No, it's not deceiving people, mate. It's
Actively admits previous products.
Look, obviously they're not going to say the 12 is piss water, but
This job interview is going extremely well.
thank you so much. Thank you. I will have it. Anyway, look, that's where I'm at with it.
We could bash these whiskeys all afternoon.
Let's do it now.
However,
let's move on.
You talked about cool labels, right? What do you think of this?
I think everyone kind of dicks on the Aston Martin collaboration with Bowmore. I think it's a cool collaboration. I love it. I think it's really, really cool. Is there elements that don't quite make sense, or have they not taken it far enough, or they've taken it too far in some realms but not far enough others?
The thing that surprises me most is that, they were kind of the first to do it. A bunch of other whiskey brands have since come out and been like, right, here's cars we're getting into bed with. I'm a bit surprised that no one's been like, but what about drink driving?
Yeah, we're guilty of that.
Yeah.
Not drink driving.
No, we did a collaboration with Pempleton. Yeah.
I know, but that was a kind of. That was, I guess,
more of a content-driven thing.
Yeah, it's a content-driven thing, like a lifestyle-driven thing.
This is where I think that they've missed a trick. Is they haven't driven it far enough. They've kind of collaborated with a car company. Excuse the pun, but they haven't driven it.
They haven't done a warehouse tasting and then a lap round Silverstone.
No, but dude, what I would be doing if I
I know.
But you joke, Stevie. What if you could do an experience
The other way round.
where you visited Isla and you got to lap around Isla in one of their really cool old cars,
Finished.
and then you did a whiskey tasting?
Mate, yeah.
I am there. Book me the fucking now. And by the way, Bowmore, Aston Martin, if you do that, you have to give me the first go because it's my idea.
I don't think for the first 20 minutes of the episode you're going to get that first invitation, mate.
Just send them a clip of like a very heavily edited version.
I love Bowmore.
Yeah.
Use that clip.
It's not even that. It's going to have to be like cut together like one of those cassette boy things. Like I love Bowmore.
Everything else is piss water. No,
you're right, mate. No, they haven't taken
it far enough.
Yeah.
And you've got the 18 here, which is cool. They've obviously done the 22 and
10.
There's a 10, there's a 15, there's a travel.
I'm going up older.
Oh,
there's what's the eldest one that's in that kind of really crazy
$75,000.
Crazy.
In the spaceship. Yeah.
How old is that?
50 something. I think.
Something silly.
52
right?
or something.
Right. Cool. But like, there's not enough joining it up.
Yeah,
That's my issue.
They've done
with
a Black Bowmore as well, like, and they got I think an actual like cylinder head from an old Aston Martin, and then rebottled up some Black Bowmore.
That's right,
and stuck it in.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's quite cool. But again, they've just rebottled it. That's kind
There
of
is I think they have done an Aston Martin DBX like X Bowmore, like with a bit of like tweed on the headrest or something.
Was it them or McCallum did the 007 releases?
That's McCallum.
Okay.
But yeah, travel retail. These are interesting. What's interesting is like the allure of packaging and marketing, right?
Sure.
Because I think I paid about 80, 90 quid for this. I can sell it in an auction for 150-ish quid. Happy days. I actually, as I said on another episode, smashed through most of a bottle of it whilst on holiday during the pandemic, using the Due Free app. Got a discount on it. They had a sale on it. I think I ended up paying like 50 quid a bottle for it. And it's exactly the same liquid as it is now, just a different box, different label. And prior to the pandemic, that same bottle selling on auction would go for less than the purchase price, at like £55. Now, £100 this box is worth effectively.
Bizarre, isn't it?
So weird, right?
But that is unexperienced people probably speculating on the market. I can't see
the long-term viability. No, I can't. I agree.
It's an interesting one. I like the collaboration. You're right. We've been dicking on Bowmore a little bit, and everyone takes a piss out of them for this Aston Martin collab. I think it's really cool.
It's clearly working for them, right?
Exactly. It's obviously doing a trick. I just think let's get it that little bit further. And if you want some pointers on how I would do that, you can get in contact. Let's open something, though, because I appreciate, Ian, that's quite a cool bottle, quite a special bottle, and you don't want to open that today. Thank you for bringing it. We've got a couple now of indie Bowmores. And for me, this is where Bowmore starts to kind of
show its true self. Yeah.
Right. Sing its own song. It's really standing out. This is a wonderful expression from Carnmore. Everyone at home, hopefully you can see that bottle. Obviously, we discussed Carnmore recently, an independent bottler that's just so great for me.
An independent bottler that used to own Bowmore.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Do tell.
It's Morrison's Scotch whisky distillers. Remember, it used to be
course.
Morrison's Bowmore before they sold it to...
Of course. Shit, yeah. I never thought about that. Okay, dead cool. So, fair enough. They've probably picked a lovely cask here, and I'm struggling to get into this, so bear with me, lads. Chat amongst yourselves.
And they probably didn't pay anything for it.
Yeah, it might be one that they took with them, right?
For sure, yeah.
Probably so.
Who's it owned by now, sorry?
Beam
Suntory, yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Does any Bowmore go out to Japan for...
I imagine probably a good bit of it.
No, sorry, yeah. Might rephrase that question.
Does it go into Japanese
Does it go
whiskey?
into any Japanese whiskies?
Yeah.
No,
not like Ben Nevis does.
Okay, right,
no.
fine. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I'm sure there is a cask or two, but no.
Yeah. No,
I was about to pour my dram first. Sorry, gents. Pass your glasses forward.
How rude, mate. How long have you had this, mate?
Don't show anybody my pouring skills there.
It's terrible.
This is a 23-year-old 1996 PX sherry, about 471 bottles, bottled at a cask strength of 53.4% by Carnmore. It is their celebration of the cask series. I've owned this for a minute, you know. I've got 2 of them. I have another one closed at home. Haven't tried it. Really excited to try it.
You say 96?
Yeah.
1996.
Not
yeah.
your year, is it? It's
23. No.
Yeah.
Couple of years after I was born, but 23-year-old. I've had this for a minute, you know, and I'm really excited to try it. As you know, I love Carnmore, and Bowmore from Indies is generally where it's sort of interesting and gets quite cool. I actually bought this blind. I didn't know it was a sherry release, and so I was comparing it to our Bowmore at the time, which was also sort of 23, 24, and I was trying to gauge where we stood in comparison. But when I realised it was a sherry, about ours was obviously a bourbon. There was no point in comparing them because two different things entirely. So I'm really excited to try it today. Price point, I'm trying to remember. I think I was not far over £100. I think it was about 120, 130 pounds.
That's good.
That's
which is
really
good.
Yeah.
I imagine quite a lot more today.
Probably quite a bit more today, and this is it. I was going to say, don't hold me to that.
That's one thing that I is a bit of a shame. Like, I have noticed that the price of Indie Bowmore has rapidly.
Oh my God. Like, so we'll come on to a Whiskey Baron release next, which is a 25-year-old. We bought 5 casks as the company, and the price jump and what people were looking like, it didn't make any sense. Like, we paid more for that than I would have ideally.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the prices that other people were putting out, but more out at the same time, and it was like 50% more, 60% more, 70% more. And I'm looking at it now, and it's like double the fucking price. You said recently, who was it, Berries or somebody released a 25-year-old?
Some other indie bottler, yeah.
Some
Berries had
name.
yeah.
Right, okay.
Berries had an
Say no
exceptional.
more. £600
About that, yeah.
for some shitty fucking 25-year-old, like
Mm-hmm.
£600.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the Berries cask, I think, was 425 or 450
for how old?
for 25.
So this is the thing that's really interesting. Like, we launched ours at £395 per bottle. Now, in honesty with you, the plan was to launch it at £325 per bottle, the exact same price as the Ben Nevis, both 25-year-old single casks. We bought 5 casks. We then sold 4 of them relatively quickly because I can't sit on 5 casks. I'm not rich. I can't sit on 5 casks of Bowmore just indefinitely. But we bought them as 23-year-olds. I then sat on this for a year and a half. And it went from having circa 180, 190 bottles to then losing 25%. Yeah. And we came out with a total of 134 bottles. So we had to bump the price up a little bit to account for that loss. Which is one of those unlucky things, bit of a leaky cask. But even given all of those issues, given the fact that we are such a young independent bottler, you compare that £395 in comparison to other, Berries, other brands that have been around for a long time.
Douglas Lang just put one out of £500.
Fuck off. That's ridiculous. They've been in the game way longer than us. Why?
Yeah.
Is theirs significantly better than ours?
No.
I mean, ours was, 8.5 out of 10 by Forbes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we get carried away. My point being, I'm confused and just sort of, clarify what you said. I think prices for the open market of Bowmore is only going to keep going up. So if you like Bowmore, if you like indie Bowmore, buy as much as you can now. And this Carnmore,
It's going for, I've just checked, between £500 and £600 per bottle now.
Carnmore.
What?
That bottle.
Ha! Well, you're welcome, lads. I've got another bottle at home.
Thank you. This, for me, has got slight edges, by no means the worst offender, of that interesting 80s, and by interesting... Soapy, Parma Violets.
I've just had my first sip. I know exactly what you mean. But it is only edges, though.
Yeah. I mean, I've had way bigger offenders.
It's kind of, I know it's sudsy.
Yeah.
It is a bit sudsy here.
And it was interesting. Like, the entire distillery, I'd be so fascinated to what happened in their production process that made that happen during that, like, quite extensive period, probably about 15 years of it, right?
Yeah, 15 to 20 years probably, yeah. you know what? It's something I talk about with a lot of people, and obviously Bowmore is from that realm, and so many people are like, oh, I'm so glad it's not that kind of weird Parma Violet-y, soapy, I think it stands out a lot more, obviously, in the bourbon casks. The sherry casks do seem to overwrite those flavors a little bit more, which is probably why we're only getting edges. I reckon if this was a bourbon matured, you'd probably get a good bit more of it, right?
Albeit I have had a couple of sherry casks where it has been like a real fucking stonker.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting. My thoughts on that would be the sweetness would kind of overwrite it to a certain degree, right?
I think it does here a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the kind of grapes and plums and jams.
But I get it on the nose a little bit. And then at the very, very end of the palate, it's just that sudsiness, that kind of very liquidy.
It is a completely different drink, albeit a much older expression to Bowmore's core range.
Completely different category.
Where are we at strength wise?
It's got to be up there, 50-something%.
53.4. 53.4 sits very nicely. It's 53.4, right?
Yeah, it does.
Very well integrated, really nicely balanced. That soapiness is the only thing to take away from it in my mind, actually. I think it's really, really nice. Like you say, you've got that kind of plummy red fruits. The tannins are really well balanced. Mm-hmm. I really like it. I think it's yummy. It is just that little bit very liquidy on the very, very, very back end.
And where does that come from?
That's what we were just...
Sorry, I was
no.
You
know what?
But
honestly, I don't know. Like Ian says, they must have been doing something funny. Maybe there's put a little bit of very liquid in every
in the stills.
Just for a few years, maybe there was some absolute hooligan working there, and
maybe
no one realised, and everyone was, it's just the style of the distillery.
Maybe
meanwhile, Bob's there with fucking Dove soap, just
cleaning the stills.
Well, a little bit.
Clean them. What do you clean with? Very liquid.
Bob,
don't say anything. Yeah.
Oh, very good. I like this one. I'm not sure I would you say it was selling for £500?
Between 5 and 6, yeah.
Yeah, mate.
I don't think I would.
At that price, I'd be selling your other bottle.
If anyone's looking for a 23-year-old Bowmore, I've got one at £499.99.
Yeah, be on auction next month.
Yeah, no. Look, I love the Carnmores. This is the thing. I got a few different ones. I got two of these, like I say. I got an Imperial. I got something. They're all kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, 100, 120 quid or whatever you thought it was to start with, I'd be buying them all day. But at 500, you can have as many as you want.
Yeah, exactly. Cool whiskey, though. I like it.
I like it a lot.
Where's Bowmore on the production side of things? They're actually on the lower end, right?
It's always a bit smaller than you would think, given the multitude of releases.
2.5 million. I think. I don't think it's even that. I think it's like 2.
Yeah. 2 pairs of stills, I think.
Is that it?
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things, I
should remember that being there.
Right, yeah, no, I say again. No.
For such a big name, and in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot.
Correct. That's what I was just about to say. Take the piss out of them, ripping them a new hole for the pish water that they're putting on the supermarket floors. The interesting thing is they're in a lot of supermarkets. They are spreading this around for only 2 odd million litres a year. It is actually very accessible as a brand,
Yeah.
So
I guess it's never been closed, so there's no gaps in production they've got to try and fill.
Yep.
They were one of the kind of first to take their steps into the world of single malt back in the 70s. Like, there were obviously incredible releases like Black Bowmore and stuff from the early 90s that kind of built their name up.
For sure.
So I think, that they're able to, right? Because they've got that history, they've got that consistent production, even if the flavor profile's changed over the years.
But that's the thing that's so interesting. Is like they've got all of this sort of really solid backbone of, second oldest distillery in Scotland, oldest distillery on Islay, like you say, years and years and years of just putting out great liquid.
Yep.
I don't get what they're doing with the young stuff.
This bullshit is absolute.
It's just terrible. And this is the thing. I know for a fact. If anyone from Beam is watching, very nicely, we're welcomed along at the whiskey show to do a bit of content with David, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I always think his name is David Simpson. It's not, because David Simpson founded this.
Yeah.
I always get that wrong. I'm always David Simpson, wasn't we? But no, he's dead probably.
Probably.
Maybe a little bit dead. But David, whatever his name is, he was gent who was at whiskey show, and he was at Bowmore, and talking with him a little bit off camera, and he's saying, like, we're not the only people with this opinion. I know for a fact, like, so many people talk about great whiskies, and again, we'll come on to ours now in a moment. I love, this is an amazing rendition of Bowmore. It's really, it's just a bit of a shame about their core range, isn't it? It's like, if everyone's saying this, like we said, who is buying it?
Yeah.
It must be people who don't know whiskey, who aren't, and if that's fine, look, maybe it is kind of another Glenmorangie, a place where people are stopping on the beginning of their journey. And then, look, if you circle back to it, you have to spend money to start enjoying it, right? You can't be buying in at the entry level. You've got to kind of spend, I would say, £100 plus to really start enjoying Bowmore.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know how much is being shipped out, as well, internationally.
Right. Definitely.
Because they might gobble it up and not even care, you know what I mean?
But
look at the colour as well. It's obviously like...
Oh,
I think
loaded.
Smattering.
Yeah.
Obviously,
peppered with colouring.
lots of fans in the UK. Like, Bowmore was always the place, even before Faish and like the whiskey festivals like really took off, and like bottle investing took off, and like armchair investors started coming out during COVID. But people used to fucking get their deck chairs out and camp overnight at the distillery, because they knew that the bottle would either be so good or so flippable that they would either absolutely fucking love it or be able to sell it for a shit ton of money. And that's been happening there for years in a way that didn't happen at any of the other distilleries. I was there the day before, literally, people starting to camp out from like 4 p.m.
Wow. And that wasn't long ago.
I mean, that was 5 years ago now, but
Yeah.
like that behaviour had been happening for at least 5 years prior to that, in a way that no other distillery.
This is the thing. It's just like, sorry, so I'm just looking here at exactly what production is at. 2.15 million litres per annum.
I mean, from 2 pairs of stills, that's probably bang on about 100% production, right?
And I would, I'm not gonna. It doesn't say about exactly. I would imagine 100% or very, very. Let's say 2 million litres per annum, right? They maybe give themselves a little bit of downtime. With all of that, with the background that they've got, with all of this, I just don't understand what they're trying to do. It's only 2 million litres. Why aren't they trying to become that super premium brand? I think that's where they belong. And this is the thing.
You know what I mean?
It's already the liquid they're producing.
Yeah.
Just fucking reallocate it. Stop portioning off this bullshit and watering it down and putting it into Asda. Not every Asda drinker needs to drink Bowmore. Not every Asda drinker deserves to drink Bowmore.
Wow.
I'm being controversial.
We lost a few subscribers there, mate.
No, but like, my point being, this is a really solid whiskey. This is a high quality whiskey. We don't need to make it for the everyman. We don't need to be watering it down so that everyone thinks, oh yeah, this is all right. It's like, maybe we should just leave it so that it's really high caliber, good quality, single malt scotch from Islay, and it's not for the everyman. It's for people who like a peated whiskey.
The path they're on, I think the risk that they run, right, is that in 20, 30 years' time, that they've almost driven themselves out of business, right? We all know that there is incredible, expensive old Bowmore out there, but not everyone is going to seek it out, including like the new whiskey drinkers. If you're coming up in the supermarket and you're buying that, I would say there is a reasonably high percentage chance you're going to be like, it's not for me.
Right.
I'm going to
and
drink
not
something
bother
else.
exploring
and then
further.
not bother coming back. And
but that's an issue, and that's the issue I have with it.
Yeah, exactly. Because in 20 years' time, Sekinder's going to be dead, and he can't spend 500 grand on a cask. And like, we know that the quality stuff's out there, but we're not in the target market to be spending like 2.5 grand on the 30-year-old or more for like the Aston Martin in a cylinder bottle or anything else. The number of people, the business and a brand can't be sustained by like a couple, literally probably 200 or 300 ultra net worth individuals who realize the value and able to buy the extraordinarily old and wonderful stuff that they do.
Agreed.
So
what are they doing?
How do they bring new people into the brand when the stuff that's supposed to bring people into the brand is so inescapably poor?
Yeah. Good question. You can't, right? You can't.
Oh,
you
so
can't.
frustrating.
I see
it
you
is.
smiling there.
I'm with you. You know, it is frustrating because I love brand. You know, as we've been saying, they produce fucking cool stuff. But what the hell are they doing?
Playing the fool.
You know?
Playing the absolute fool.
Yeah.
I'm going to move us on to the last round. I know we've all still got a bit of this. We can compare, contrast, because they are kind of similar age statements.
Yeah.
This next one is the 25-year-old single cask from the Whiskey Baron. Obviously, you know, bit of... well, it's not really shameless self-promotion because you can't buy them again. So, but
And you didn't distill it.
well, we didn't distill it. We did nothing to it when we bottled it. All we did was wait for the right age, or what we deem to be the right age. It's cask strength, natural color, blah 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 blah. Let me pour. You guys take over.
Yeah, I had never tried Bowmore in its kind of rawest form before this, and interesting enough, I actually purchased a cask with you. It wasn't this cask; it was in a. There was a few.
It was all the same,
Six
mate.
that you purchased.
It's 5. So
Five,
we bought
sorry,
5 refill, or whether we refill hogsheads? No, just 5 hogsheads. We bought 5 hogsheads of the same age, same run, not exact sister casks, but all of the same date. And I had the fun job of picking one frantically before.
I remember those weeks that you were.
It wasn't even weeks, dude. It was like a few days.
I remember every time I
sell these casks quickly.
Every time I saw you, you just had 5 bottles with you of Bowmore, you know, cask string, single cask Bowmore.
I must have sampled them umpteenth time, like just ridiculous amounts of times. I was getting everyone and anyone I knew.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? Okay, what do you think of this? And of course, 5 sister casks, they were all fucking similar. But the thing I love about it, I eventually managed to choose a cask. And there's a few people that I trust and that I go to when it comes to these sorts of things. But one guy in particular is a gentleman. I know we're all, you know, we all know him, called Matt Mackay, who has a website called The Dramble. I'd highly recommend you check it out if you don't know it already. Matt, he's an amazing gent when it comes to talking about whiskies, putting tasting notes on whiskies, exploring a whiskey with you. And he tried all 5 of them. And he was like, I would pick this one. And it was this one. So
right. Thank you.
As soon as he said that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try anybody else. I'm going to take your answer.
For a man
that's good enough for me.
About,
Yeah.
10 drams before even 8 a.m. You got to take his word.
He really knows his stuff.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So 25 years old, single cask, bourbon hogshead, 47.7% at cask strength, natural color. It's nice. So yeah, tell me what you think, boys. I know you've tried it already, but yeah,
For sure. I mean, first off, for me, like, obviously it's 25 years. You can't compare it to 12 or only 12. But the body there, you know, it's full. It's creamy. It's salty. And I feel like I'm getting that true smoke of Bowmore that I would like to get from the 12.
Well, that's the other thing. The number 1 and the number 12, sorry, the 12-year-old, like, you don't even get that super ashy campfire smoke. Like, that's how insipid they are. It's almost weird how, like, you know, like, it's like someone's got a syringe and been able to extract flavor from it.
definitely. I know exactly what you mean.
And then injected it into this one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But this is the thing. It's like, what is it they're doing? It must be bringing it down too far. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because the consistency of product, like, it's not as if they're doing some weird, you know.
It's 12 years, mate. It's
12
been
years in
12
cask.
years
They're
in
not
cask.
doing anything really funky with it that other casks that are being sold to the open market haven't
Now,
had.
what is their wood policy like? Because there was a comment online that I saw recently.
It's great. I mean,
I think the wood policy is good.
Yeah, I
They've
don't
got
know. That's
all
why
Look,
I'm
I mean,
asking.
obviously ours leaked 25%, so I might have an angry word of
Someone
complaint with them on
said
that,
that-
but I don't think that's necessarily
This
their
is
fault.
a comment from some gent that said, I'm being generous with the 0.5 out of 5. Why would a distiller of one of the best and most subtle of Islay malt whiskies pretend that maturing it in bourbon casks would be anything but a disaster? Blah, 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 blah. So,
That sounds like an interesting comment.
Well, this is it.
He doesn't want it matured in bourbon.
So I think
He's saying, why are they pretending that they mature it in bourbon casks?
No, he's saying, why would they pretend that maturing it in bourbon would help it? That's how I heard that.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
how I heard it as well.
Yeah, anything but a disaster. Okay.
So
yeah.
for me, like, this is exclusive bourbon. Granted, it's 25 years old, so I appreciate it's had a good amount of time in bourbon. But like, I love bourbon matured Bowmore. It's just like what else is going on with it? If we water it all the way down,
that might be what it is, because if you're saying they've got good wood policy, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm not getting it out that 12 when you think you should be. It must be.
It's 40 flat.
It must be watering it
because
all the way down.
The
and
nose,
really
there is.
rinsing
Look,
it.
I think we all agree that there is at least something pleasant.
Yeah.
And something that we can say, oh, this is Bowmore, or it should be
there's
fucking Bowmore, right?
There is potential that has been ruined.
Right, and that's it. And so, if that's on the nose, but it's not coming through on the palate, there is something that has fucked with that. Now, to me, that's not a cask, because the cask would influence the flavour is
Sure,
within, right?
sure.
It's within the scent. It's within
That's
your
also
nose,
saying
so-
to me though that the the new make can't hack 40% at all. Then, really,
I would agree. As
Yeah.
we discussed in our Glenmorangie episode, I think the Glenmorangie actually works really nicely
Sure,
at 40%.
sure.
And you know how I am. I'm normally, fuck you, 40%. You're just a fucking trying to get your most
and
money out.
Bowmore can't take that.
And
No.
correct. It
Yeah.
can't at all. I think Bowmore should not be anything less than 50%. Now, we're supping currently on a 47.7. That is cask strength. It came down to that naturally. And that's the interesting thing about
Yeah.
Bowmore. Generally speaking, it actually drops its ABV quicker than a lot of other distilleries. Now, that's not to say it's a bad wood policy or anything, because again, like I would say the Carnmore sherry cask and this hogshead, two different styles, two different whiskies. Again, coming back to kind of what I said earlier, what I love about Bowmore is it works in different styles, but it always feels like I'm drinking something a little bit different. So it's actually, it's very nice. It kind of opens up the distillery into all these different routes or potentials. But yeah, it must be the fact that they're just watering it down too far. It must be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd love to get in there and just dip into a 12-year-old single,
He has, right?
That's the thing as well.
but untouched. You got a 12-year-old straight out of the cask?
I
don't know if
sure
it's 12,
I did.
but-
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
there were
okay.
various different ages.
And they're
cool,
all outstanding.
I certainly had a kind of 14 or 15-year-old full bourbon maturation that was either first or second fill.
And
Delicious.
right.
There we go.
That year, their face.
So this is the thing. Him saying, "Oh, bourbon doesn't fuck off." Bourbon white's great. It might not be your thing. You may prefer the sherry, and they are two very different beasts. I would say with Bowmore, so fair fucking
Yeah.
play.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue with the number one, with the 12, and I would even say with the 15, little bit. It's getting a lot better.
Yeah.
But
Well, and that
it's
year,
thin.
their face release was a vatting of, I think there were 3,000 or 4,000 bottles of it, of a fully first fill bourbon matured 15-year-old Bowmore, and it was cask-ish strength. I think it was cask strength, 50 certainly 50-something%.
Right.
Again, delicious. I think
Frustrating.
what's possibly the case here is there might be tired casks and a lot of caramel. You obviously have no idea what color this actually comes out. And certainly the watering down, at higher ABVs. And what I would say as well, that Chateau Lagrange wine thing, had obviously been watered down a bit.
How would you say that was?
21.
21. Sorry.
There's also an Amazon 19-year-old version, nearly as
remember
good,
that.
not quite. Again, 48 point something. That's fine. I think, I'm not going to say 50 is the minimum. I think 46 to 48 is probably the minimum. But again, below 46, something just goes wrong, man.
Yeah. No, agreed.
It's a real shame because I do
Yeah.
love the brand.
It's a fucking, and this is the thing. What I will say before we start What I will say before we start recapping and sort of giving our buy, don't buy, etc. I appreciate it seems as if we've been a little bit rough on Bowmore today, guys. I think we can all safely say it's because we are such big fans of the distillery, such big fans of the liquid and the potential that the liquid holds, that when we try these entry-level expressions that just fall so far short is really disappointing, because you're looking at a distillery that has been around for 250
Nearly.
years,
Yeah.
right?
It's
It's a huge amount of time. It's seriously impressive. They are like a gem of Isla, an absolute gem. And I think Bowmore, and I think Bliss. I just think of quality. I think of their amazing warehouses. I think of incredible whiskey, and I always forget very purposefully the entry level expressions from them.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've been bashing them all afternoon, and it's my favorite like Isla Peat, right? Bunner has a special place in my heart. It's my favourite Islay distillery, but Bowmore's, I think, genuinely my number 2 Islay distillery. And, I prefer Bowmore to peated Bunner, to Lager, to Kalila, to Octomore, to Kilhoman, you name it.
For sure.
And that's why I think I'm so kind of aggressively criticising it, because I wish you could have more consistency. I wish you could have more quality, because I would buy a lot more of it.
And you know what? I agree with everything you've just said. What I would say again is what you said earlier is I just wish they were welcoming people into the space a bit better, because I think so many people will try the entry-level expressions and go, it's not for me. And that's exactly it, Ian. You hit the nail on the head earlier. It's like your entry-level expression should be going, oh, that's kind of interesting. Let me try that again. Let me step up a level within this brand. Not going, oh, well, that doesn't, it's different on the nose to the palate, and it's not that good, and there's a bit of it. Not again. No, thank you. All of a sudden, you're right. I think they're pricing themselves out of the market. I think they're narrowing their whole customer base. And it's such a shame, because one of the best distilleries, not only on Islay, but in the world, fuck Scotland, in the world, one of the best distilleries in my mind, they are really letting themselves down with their core range.
Yep.
So with that being said...
Wow.
If anyone's still watching, we're going to do a little bit of a roundup.
Not from Santori.
I think the guys from Beam
They've
left a while ago.
And,
anyone who's still listening from Beam, we love Bowmore. We want to come and visit again.
Yeah,
we want to do some content with you. We want to get you in. We want you to explain to us what the fuck is going on here. Maybe you've got a good explanation. Maybe we're missing something. I don't think so. But anyway, let's go with the number 1 first. Are we a buy or a don't buy? What price did we say we were at? You bought it at 37.
Yeah,
I think you got spanked hardly on that one.
I mean,
let's call it £30.
We introduced the oosh for super buys.
And bin it. There's a bin it there.
Oh, right. Bin it.
You're going to bin it?
Bin it.
Bin it. Get it in the bin. Number 1, fuck off, in the bin. Stevie?
The number 1? Oh, yeah, in the bin.
In the bin?
Yeah.
Tell you what, for £37, I'd rather cut off my fucking tongue and not try whiskey again. It's a joke.
There's many things I'd rather do that I'm not going to say. But
bin it.
That is the first treble bin it.
That is the first treble bin it. That's embarrassing. Not a good place to start for Bowmore. Let's move on to the 12. I'm not feeling much more positive about this. Ian, where are you on the 12?
Kind of between a don't buy and a bin it.
Right, okay, yeah. Fair enough.
I wouldn't say bin it completely. It's a I will never buy it again unless
it's a strong
they change
don't
it.
buy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to bin it as well, though, mate, because like I say, save yourself 5 years, save yourself some money, release it at a higher strength, Actually, I think that would probably even itself out. If they bottled it as a 7-year-old, save themselves 5 years of time, but bottled it at 50%, I reckon the money would even itself out.
Yeah.
Bottle it at 7-year-olds, bottle it at 50%, that 12-year-old, bin it, get gone. The Bowmore 18 Aston Martin, obviously we didn't try. Thank you for bringing it in. I think what's something cool to talk about there is the fact that they have got a cool collaboration. The partnership I think is really, really awesome.
Yeah, and look, as someone that has tried it at that £50 price point where I did buy it all day long,
right?
All day long. If you're a mug on an auction site, please don't put this episode out until after I've sold my bowl. Paying £150 is a strong don't buy.
Right.
So much extra better whiskey out there for £150.
What, 80? £80, £90?
I don't think it's great long-term potential either. For 80 quid, 80 quid's fine.
Cool. All right. Well, look, one to look out for, guys. I think the Aston Martin sort of collab is really, really cool. One to look at. Going on to the Carnmore 1996, 23-year-old. I mean, £500 on the secondary market at the moment. That is a madness. I wouldn't be doing that.
That's a whiskey-based statistic, by the way. Just so
okay. I'm now really questioning where my buy price was, and I'm going to go through my notes later. I'm 90% sure that it was like £130.
Sorry, did you buy that auction or did you buy it straight?
Bought it straight
retail,
up.
Yeah,
I bought a couple. I bought a bunch of different bits and pieces. Like I say, I bought 2 of them, and I don't think I would have bought 2 if it was like significantly more expensive.
No, yeah,
maybe it's a couple £100.
Still, a 23-year-old but more.
Even a couple of £100.
Quite reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Look, I would be buying that all day long. I think it's lovely. There is some strange notes on the back end, but that's kind of, for me, at a stronger strength, with that age on it, it kind of deals with the intricacies of Bowmore. Like, not every whiskey that you're going to try is going to be amazing in every way. And I think what's really cool about that dram is it's really enjoyable, but you can also have a bit of a glance at that soapy, side of Bowmore, because that was a big part, as you say, Ian, of Bowmore for about 15, 20 odd years. It just put out this really weird sort of distillate.
Yep.
So I think it's nice to be able to sample that without it being a dram that you never want to return to again. So yeah, I'd say buy that at sort of 200 to 250 pounds even. I'd be buying that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's similar conversations that at original price. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
At mad secondary price, probably not.
No, for sure.
Totally.
But again, as we said, Bowmore in the sort of indie market anyway is going up and up and up, and people releasing bottles at crazy money. So, the fact that they released at such a low price, the secondary market is probably closer to where a lot of people are retail-wise. Stevie, what do you think? 23-year-old, would you be buy, don't buy?
At the price you paid for it, of course, all day long, and I'd get 2.
All right, so let's talk about what's our max price on this one then, guys, because if we're all buying at that sort of, but we're not buying at the £500 mark.
My max
what would
price,
you pay for it?
and I'm not saying what it's worth, but what
To
I would
you.
pay for it, around the 200 mark.
Cool.
Yeah,
200?
I'd be happy with that for
You about the same,
23-year-old.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, if I've had better, just because it does have a bit of that Parma Violet soapy kind of note to it. So I think at that kind of age and quality, if it didn't have that note, I'd be willing to pay more. So actually, having tried it is probably like in some way reduced
For
the
sure,
amount.
value. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, 175, 200, I'd be all right with that.
Okay, cool. All right, so in and around the 200, I have to say, yeah, look, for £200, I'd buy that, definitely. I'd probably go 250 at most, but I agree. I think maybe having tried it, I maybe would scale back a little bit because it's not quite the Bowmore that I would look for. An interesting one to look at, though. And again, love Cardmore. Big ups, Cardmore. Finally, finishing on the whiskey brown, a little bit shameless, but we're not selling it anymore, so fuck it. Even if you want it, you can't have it. Unlucky. It was really highly rated by Forbes, which I was delighted with. But I want you to be brutally honest. What do you reckon? Buy, don't buy? £395 was the retail. I appreciate you won a bottle of this off of me for being far too good at shooting. But
I wasn't mugging you off, mate. It's just I can shoot. You can't. Look, I think when I first sat down and had a sample when we were down to bottling it, I said it's my favourite ever bourbon Bowmore, and it still is. I love it. It's great.
Fair play. So 395. Do you reckon that's reasonable or a little bit
I
outside
mean,
your
look,
price range?
I
I appreciate it's a premium price. So, like, if you wouldn't pay it, you tell people. Just because you're the brand ambassador for the whiskey brand, we're not at work here, mate. This is uncut and unfiltered. You be brutal.
So I think this is the fucking like hilarious thing of what's happened in the last like 12 months, in particular with whiskey prices. Like we talked about it, and I was like, well, it's maybe 50 quid more than I'd want to pay for it.
For sure.
Nowadays, like it's not that I would be paying 500 quid for an Indie Bowmore. It looks underpriced by like 50, 100 quid.
For sure.
So, obviously I don't know anything. And
I think this is the thing, man. The whiskey market is moving quickly.
Yeah.
And I think Bowmore is a really interesting one to look at because, obviously certain indies have been around for a long time, have access to this stuff, can put it out a little bit easier. For us, we bought those 5 casks. I had to pick very quickly which one to bottle, quickly sell on the other 4. Unfortunately, we had that leak. We bottled it. We had to price it up a little bit. I still feel that we're actually very well priced.
Yeah.
But I appreciate at the same time, it's certainly, £395. Somebody spending £400 on a bottle of whiskey is serious about their whiskey, right? Or has a lot of money in their back pocket, isn't too worried about money. But, I appreciate that's well out of the range of a lot of people. And so most people would say no. Stevie, where are you? Because I appreciate, again, you're somebody who's getting more and more willing to spend more and more money on whiskey. But truth be told,
I am.
If you weren't with the whiskey baron, you didn't know anything about it, but you know Bowmore the way you know Bowmore, $395.
And I had tasted it.
No.
No.
You haven't tried it. Would you spend $395?
It would be a stretch for me, Jake.
Right. That's it,
£400, a lot of money to me.
That's right, man. Hey, to everyone, right?
Of course, to everyone. Everyone has it, But, and I have spent more than £400 on a bottle. The liquid is great. Obviously, the brand's great. Co-own it, work for it. But no, I couldn't stretch
You
for a
wouldn't, yeah.
25-year-old Bowmore for me. I love the brand, but not that much.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Fucking right.
So,
So, 400 quid is not
yeah.
for everybody. And to be honest, doesn't matter because it's sold out already.
Wow,
mate.
that's fine.
I don't have one for you.
But it's lovely liquid. There's no,
And you know what? So looping around to me again, obviously, like it's very, very biased. When you own a brand, would you buy it? Would you not buy it? I would personally buy it. And the only reason I'm specifically saying I would buy this one, because we did the Lecheg episode, I said, we're not going to shamelessly tell people buy, don't buy. The reason I would say buy on this one, 2 reasons. Number one, like I say, you can't buy it, so I'm not benefiting by saying buy it.
Yep.
But number two, the reason I would say buy it is I think this is my favorite release that we've ever done under the whiskey brand. And obviously people, they saw our Springbank and they went nuts for the Springbank. The Springbank's fucking awesome, don't get me wrong. I love it. Cool. Then we look at the other end of things, our 6-year-old Glentockers, people went nuts for that. That's in a whole different realm. It's fucking awesome. Cool. Great. For me, Bowmore, check 1. 25 years old. Check 2. Bourbon matured from the 90s without any soapy Parma violetiness. Amazing. Check 3. And to me, it just kind of ticks all those boxes of that salinity, that beautiful smokiness.
Yep.
It's kind of got a little bit of fishiness in there almost as well. Like
I get
that wonderful, but it's balanced. And it also, and again, mentioned Matt Mackay, I'll loop back to him because a man with fucking brilliant tasting notes. It's got that alluvial sense to it. It's got that beachfront. It brings me to the distillery. And I think, the Springbank did such wonders for our brand, and so I'm always going to sort of talk about that and have a tie to that. I think if I'm really honest with myself, purely on flavour, and I were to try all of our whiskies blind, and no one were to say where they were from, how old they were, how much they were, I think I would pick the Bowmore.
it is a true representation
It's
of
just
Bowmore,
really
right?
fucking good. I love it. I really love it. So it's a buy from me. I'd probably go as far as saying oosh, but I won't because it's our own brand. I don't want to be a cunt, so that's fine. So to wrap up, Bowmore is a great distillery. We love it. It's incredible. It's just a shame that they're not paying themselves the respect that they deserve. Would we all agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
And even then, they can do it with their own bottles. Like, you just have to go...
You just have to start leveling up.
You have to start leveling... Yeah.
Don't bother buying Bowmore OBs unless you're spending £100 plus. That's where I'm at the moment. Anyone from Beam who's watching, we want our minds changed. We want you to bring us to the distillery, show us around, tell us why you're doing what you're doing, show us why we're wrong. I am always open to have my mind changed. But as it stands, I think that Bowmore has huge potential, but unfortunately on the lower end is not living up to it. We'd love to hear what you think though, guys. Let us know if you've tried any of the whiskies here today. Pop it in the comments. Equally, any Bowmores that we have missed that you think are worthwhile looking at, please do pop it in the comments. I'm sure we will come back to Bowmore for another episode at some point soon. Gentlemen, always a pleasure, never a chore. Thank you so much for joining me.
Nice one, guys.
Slash of
Cheers.
Take care.